Today is Monday. I don't even know the date. What is today? 22nd. Today is February 22nd, Monday. It is Monday morning coaching, mentoring, collaboration. We ask each other questions and depend on one another, and hopefully we're all encouraged and learn something by the end of it all. My name is David Doty with Call It Closed International Realty, and we're going to talk about today how to get started as a newer agent, how to build your brand and start building your business. And the first thing, whenever we talk about this kind of stuff, it's always important to think about, why are we doing what we do? What's the goal? And for me, my goal is freedom. I want to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. That's not a new phrase, I don't think, to any of you. But for me, the way that I will become free is to manage my finances well and to increase the amount of money that's coming in, and ideally eventually have multiple income streams and residual income streams so that I don't have to work. And if we decide to go build an orphanage in Ukraine or build wells in Africa or whatever we are doing, we have the resources that we need to do that. So the goal for me is freedom. Only you guys can decide and define for yourselves what your own goals are. But when people talk about wealth and they talk about riches, my dad always told me growing up, he said that the true definition of wealth is the absence of debt. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to be able to get out of debt unless I make some money. And so the primary way I make money is by selling houses. And the first step to doing that successfully is to look the part. Um, when I got into real estate, prior to getting my real estate license, I was a real estate investor. I would buy foreclosures primarily. Not all of the houses I bought were foreclosures, but most of them were. And I'd go in and renovate them myself or with a couple other people. And then we turn around and put them back on the market. And back then in 2013, at least in this area, it was very easy to do that. I was not a genius. It was just somebody who happened to be in the right place at the right time. But I also drove a pickup truck. I went out and I bought, um, don't recommend doing this, but I thought I was a big shot. I went out and I bought a brand new Toyota Tundra 4-wheel drive, um, big 4-door truck. It was about $40,000. And I did that because it was 0% financing, but I also thought, I needed a truck for my business and I thought it looked really cool. And so I patted my ego with that. Now, as the foreclosure market dried up in 2014, 15, the real estate market got hotter. There were fewer foreclosures. The foreclosures that were out there were selling for retail prices. Some guy like me, who was not a very sophisticated investor, had to find another way to make money. And so I decided to get my real estate license. And so I'm driving people around in my big Toyota Tundra. That was a really nice truck. At this point, it was just 2 years old, and it had the big mud tires on it and all this other stuff. And I didn't look like a realtor. Now, I'm not saying that you can't sell houses and drive a pickup. Certainly in Texas, you can. But out here in North Carolina, people didn't really see me as a successful realtor. Well, the money also was drying up for me. So I had to make a choice. And I decided to take my truck and sell it. And because I'd gotten it on 0% interest and the vehicle that I had traded in on it was paid for, I had a good bit of equity. And I sold my truck back to the dealer that I bought it from and took my like $10,000, $12,000 worth of equity. And I went to the auto auction with a person I know who is a car dealer. And I bought a used, it was about probably 6 or 7 year old BMW X5. It was a beautiful car. It was royal blue with a tan leather interior. It had the panoramic sunroof. It was just a beautiful car. And I'll never forget taking out one of my first clients. Cause usually, I mean, really in these days, we're not usually putting buyers in our cars, but I had a buyer from out of town who had flown in, and it was one of those rare circumstances where I was actually going to put this guy in my car. Now he's a physician, and I met him at a restaurant. He came out, he gets in my car and he goes, "Wow, this is a really nice car." And the thing was, 7 years old. I had 125,000 miles on it when I bought it. It was breaking down every other month, but it looked really nice and it was impressive to him. And I sold that guy a 600 and some $1,000 house. It was one of my very first transactions. Um, and it was because I looked the part. I was dressed nicely. I met him at a fancy restaurant, and we um, took him around in my nice car. And I just praise God that it didn't break down that day while he was with me. So sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. And whether it's the way you dress, if it's the what you're driving, you having having a persona and the way people look at you, unfortunately, is very important, but it also reflects on how you look at yourself. And one of the first steps in being confident when you're meeting with people, when you're building your business, is that you must know the data. You must know what you're talking about. You don't have to know everything. How many of you have been working with some salesperson in some field where they've said, you've asked a question, they said, "I'll have to get back to you on that"? How many of you expect everyone that you're dealing with on a daily basis to know absolutely everything that you ask of them? People are going to expect that you don't have all of the answers. That's totally okay. But you need to know the very basics. You certainly should be an expert in the market where you're trying to market yourself. So be an expert. Use the tools that we have in the MLS. Go to the MLS trainings. They do free trainings quite frequently, and you will be amazed at the resources that we are given as realtors. These dues are expensive, but they're expensive for a reason. We actually get a lot for what we're paying. I'm not saying that the realtor dues are justified in everything that they charge us. I'm not saying that I enjoy stroking that check or putting $225 a quarter on my credit card, but I am saying there's a lot that the MLS offers us. I went to a webinar that the MLS put on last week on how to use Remine. Now, Remine is an app, a software package that's under the resources tab in Matrix, at least in the Canopy or Charlotte area MLS. And this was an hour and a half webinar on how to use this software program. And this program can help you build mailing lists of people who are likely to sell their home. It can help you pinpoint specific properties. If you have a buyer that's looking for a 5-bed, 3-bath home around $350,000 and there are none on the market because right now everything is selling in days, then you have the ability to use this Remine as um, this software where you can do neighborhood searches and find properties like that and build mailing lists. And if you're bold enough, you can actually go and knock on the doors of those people, and you can filter, but you can filter it out by people who have, let's say, owned their home for more than 4 years, people who have not refinanced in the last year and a half, people who have uh, paid cash, whatever. You can build a list however you want and go in and knock on those doors. Now, if your MLS doesn't have Remine, or if you're not tech savvy or patient enough to learn a new software program, you can also buy those lists. You can also go to a company like Real Marketing that call it closed partners with and ask them to build a list, and they will actually mail for you. If you want to do that. But there are lots of different ways that you can do that. One of the things that I talk about nearly every week is having an auto email to yourself. Now, I have several of those set up for myself. My specific neighborhood that I live in, anytime something changes, hits the MLS, comes off the MLS, changes status, I get an immediate notification. If anything. And now my neighborhood, it's only 111 homes. And so it's not very much to manage. There's not a whole lot going on here. But if I'm out checking the mail and I happen to run to the neighbor across the street who's also checking her mail, and she asks about one of the houses down the street, I already know what it was listed at, what it sold for, what date it went under contract. She might say, "Oh, I just saw somebody is selling their house. They just put the sign in the yard yesterday." I could say, "Yeah, actually, it went on the market Saturday. It's listed at 305." And people have come to respect me because I know my market. Now I have another auto email that is set up, and that's for 3 miles of my home. The most successful agents are doing the bulk of their business where they live. And there's nothing I love more than taking a listing where I can walk to it and put the sign in the yard, the for sale sign in the yard, or drop off the lockbox when I'm walking my dog, which I did on Friday. I got to walk to one of my listings and drop off the lockbox with pulling my dog along on the leash. And to be able to do that is so rewarding. And it surely beats driving 20 or 30 minutes and fighting traffic. So, um, it's important that we know the MLS, that we use the tools that we're given, and then follow leaders who you like, who you trust, and the people who are sharing information. I mean, every time I get on a webinar or a Zoom call with Chad, our CEO, he's always spouting out data points and facts that I don't know. um, I learn more from him every time we get together. And I highly recommend you guys, we are given so many opportunities. We have our Tuesday 7 p.m. call. We have our Thursday noon call, Eastern times. You guys have the opportunity each and every week, multiple opportunities to have a very intimate setting relationship, building opportunity with Chad, and just to learn from him. And there are so many other people that we can learn from. There are lots of real estate realtor coaches out there. There are Facebook groups that you can join. I'm not suggesting that any of you pay a coach. I don't think it's necessary. You can get coached up really well for free on YouTube if you're willing to do it. The one benefit that a lot of coaches provide that you're not going to get from watching YouTube videos is accountability. And I know people, there are CIC agents who are paying $1,000 a month for a coach. They're doing that because there's something mental, there's something that happens in our brain when we're spending a lot of money, that we feel like we have to get our money's worth, and there's an extra level of accountability. We also don't like to be told um, what to do. It's easier to watch a YouTube video that you can just hit pause on or close the window and just walk away. But when you're paying somebody for a weekly or a monthly call, and they're asking you the next week, did you do what I told you to do last week? And you have to say yes or no. There's a level of accountability there. Um, but we're all adults here, and we all have the ability to hold ourselves accountable. Or you guys can talk to other agents, your friends, your spouse, your business partner, whoever it is. We can seek accountability in other ways without having to pay somebody $1,000 a month. You can attend hearings whenever there's a zoning hearing in your area. Out where I am, there's not so much as there used to be, but there's still a little bit of farmland, and it's zoned agricultural, and these developers are coming in and buying this stuff up and putting out subdivisions. Everywhere I turn, there's another subdivision. Well, anytime they do that and we're changing the zoning from agricultural to residential, there has to be a hearing, and there's opportunities to go to those hearings. You know who goes to those hearings? Land developers, builders, very few realtors, business owners. If you were thinking about putting in a retail development and you saw that there was a potential for um, a new subdivision of 1,000 new homes being put in, who would you go to that hearing? So it's a great place to go and to network, to meet people. That's how Aprilli got a lot of her success is from relationships that began at zoning hearings and things like that. Network with other leaders, join a business group. BNI, Business Networking International, is a great group if you can get into one. I know for me, all the local chapters were full. They're capped at realtors. They'll only allow one or two. And so about 5 years ago, I said, okay, BNI is full. There's another networking group that's full of realtors. I'll just start my own. I'll just start my own. And so I put a post on Nextdoor. Julie mentioned using the Nextdoor app to find a handyman earlier. I put a post on Nextdoor and said, who's interested in starting a business networking group? And I had about 45 comments. We planned our first meeting, had about 20 people show up, met at a local coffee shop, and it met for years. I finally walked away from it last year during COVID because it turned into a Zoom call and then it kind of lost its luster. But I have right now close to $1 million in business. One house under contract, one active listing that should be under contract by the end of the week. That resulted from that meeting that I started about 5 years ago. It was just for a while, so we met on Monday morning. For a while, I think went to Wednesday. But I've gotten several listings out of that group just because I'm became friends with people. I got a call in January. This local businessman whose business I've supported for the last few years that I met in this group that I started. He called me and he said, "Hey, I drove by this house. This house came on the market. My wife and I have been looking at it. We already drove by. It's perfect. It's everything that we want. We just basically need you to meet us out there, let us inside, and we're ready to write an offer on it." I literally showed them the one house, and it's over $500,000 that we got under contract. And now I'm selling the house that they're living in. I heard a stat a couple weeks ago that 77% of people, so 77, maybe 78% of people they only interview one realtor before they list their house. So if you are that one realtor, you're going to be very successful. And I know for me personally, probably 9 out of the last 10 listing appointments, or not even listing appointments, but listing conversations I've gotten the listing. There was one that I didn't get, and it went to another CIC agent. So I was very, very pleased with that, not disappointed at all. The other thing I would say is listen to other realtors in order to really know what's going on. Other agents, are going to be specializing in uh, different aspects of the business than you do or that I do. And so build relationships with other people. Tune into Facebook groups, not to get legal advice, not to get contractual advice from agents that are in other states or different areas, but just to look at market trends, to understand what people are doing, what kind of marketing is working, and to put yourself out there and have your own point of view challenged. I highly recommend getting out there. The third thing I would say in growing your business as a newer agent is to be positive. It is fundamentally, it's fundamental. It's probably the most important thing in every aspect of our life. It's to be positive because optimism breeds success. When we are negative and down on ourselves, nobody wants nobody wants to be around somebody who's whining, grumpy, complaining, because it drags everybody else down too. And it's also true when you're positive, you're optimistic, and you have a smile on your face. Smiles are contagious. Positivity is catching. you have an ability within yourself to choose to be a positive, energetic, life-giving person, and other people will just want to be around you because of that. And we have an incredible amount of power. So I would encourage you to think back over the last day, the last couple of days, maybe the last week, or even just this morning. Think about the things that you have said to yourself. Listen to yourself. Are you building yourself up, or are you tearing yourself down? Are you are you telling yourself that you can do this, that you will be a successful real estate agent, successful business owner, a successful life partner with other people around you? Or are you discouraging yourself, telling yourself that you cannot do it? Because our words have a tremendous amount of power. And whatever you hear most, you're probably going to believe. There were these internment camps back during World War II where they would brainwash people, and they would blast this message over the loudspeaker over and over and over again. They were lies. These people were being held in prison and being told lies over and over and over and over. And eventually, a lot of these people began to believe the lie. And if you are lying to yourself, saying that you can't do it, that's going to become your reality. But if you're telling yourself you can do this, you're going to be optimistic. And that optimism breeds more and more optimism, and you will bring success. But our words have a tremendous amount of power. And so it's very important that we listen to ourselves. And if there needs to be a change in what we are saying to ourselves, we need to do that. I've shared before, I have this daily affirmation. Just started doing this. One of the guys in our home church mentioned a couple of months ago that he and his wife have a daily thing that their kids say, and it's just about, I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm not going to let my emotions manage me, but I will manage my emotions. I can't remember it verbatim, but they have these little kids, these little children that every day they are encouraging, they're preaching to themselves, they are declaring the good that they are going to do and the good that they are going to be. And my wife and I were so impacted that we started doing it ourselves. And so every day I have this affirmation that I speak to myself. And if you want to talk more about that, I will happily share. But I encourage you guys to speak to preach to yourselves on a daily basis. And as you do that, you'll find that you're more attractive. I'm not talking about necessarily physically attractive, but you will attract other people to you. People will just want to hang out with you. They'll want to do business with you, and they'll want to refer business to you. And I'm speaking that from experience. People want to feel good, and we all know, especially during these times that we're in, a lot of people need some positivity in their life, and you have the opportunity to be what they need. And I'll finish up by saying nothing will change until we take the risk of doing something different than what we've been doing in the past. So, as Nike would say, just do it. It's important that we just get out there and do it. And we cannot let fear paralyze us. I know my personality is I don't want to make a mistake. I especially don't want to make a mistake when other people are watching. Well, that's my pride getting in the way of my success. And so I have to be willing to humble myself, take a risk, and maybe look a little silly every now and then by not having the right answer. But you know what? That's life. And nobody is going to expect everyone to have all of the answers all of the time. So we go out there, we make it happen, we take the listing, even not sure exactly what to do. If somebody asks questions we don't have, we write them down and say, I'll get back to you on that within 24 hours. And then you call me or you call somebody else. You look it up, you use your friend Google or go to the Real Estate Commission website, whatever you have to do, and you get the answers, and then you just move it forward. You just keep going. The most important thing is that we don't give up. My dad was a great man, and today is actually his birthday. He would have been 76 years old today. He was one who was the epitome of somebody who would not give up. He was like a bulldog. When he wanted something, he was going to make it happen. And we can all choose to do that. When it comes to building a business, building our brand, it's not easy. It's not going to happen automatically. But as we put one foot in front of the other day after day, we will get to where we're trying to get. And it's just a matter of time before it happens. So I will end with that. You guys have any comments or questions? I would love to hear what you're thinking.
No, I just want to say that was really good. The recommendation of following some of the coaches on YouTube, that's really good because I've started doing some of that, and you learn quite a bit from it. Um, and there's a lot of information out there, but of course you can't listen to you can't get to all of it at once. But just starting the process, and the mindset thing is definitely a must have. Your mindset have to be in that train of thought that you cannot be self-defeating, right?
Right, right.
So yeah, the mindset is important. I agree with that.
Thanks for sharing, Mark. I agree. And one of the books, there are a couple books that really changed my career. One is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and the other
Mm,
one, um, there was one called um, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And there are a number of books written by some really great men and women going back. Some of these books are 100 years old, but they're on audio now.
yeah,
And having those positive thoughts, the what is it, the power of positive thinking is another one.
yeah,
These things are incredible for mindset,
mhm,
absolutely. And I'll just listen to them over and over again. I mean, there's hundreds of books and podcasts and audios that we can do. And when I'm walking the dog, I have that stuff going, and it has changed my life. I mean, I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago. Absolutely.
yeah,
You know what's interesting about that Norman Vincent Peale book?
Hmm.
He was turned down so many times by publishers. He threw it out and he's told his wife, "Don't take that out of the garbage. I'm done." So she
mm,
picked up the garbage can, took it to a publisher, and the
yeah,
guy was so impressed, he read the book and he published it.
Yeah,
I just, it's a good thing, like you said, we've got to figure out how to do it on our own, but there's times where we do need others. We need other people
yeah,
to encourage us. And I think that's such a great story. Like he wrote this book and he always did it, but he just had a weak moment and his
yeah,
wife stepped in and helped him. So you need both of those things.
yeah,
yeah. No, yeah, I agree. There's times when we can take it but so far, and it might be that last few inches that we can't get over, and we definitely need help. We all need it. We all need, sometimes we just need someone there to just, even if it's encouraging or maybe help us to think outside of our realm where we're kind of
yeah,
stuck in. And sometimes that light bulb goes off and say, oh man, I'm so glad you said that. That was, that's like so true. And but like you said, we need help sometimes. Yes, we do. We
absolutely,
can't do it alone.
absolutely. And that's the other great thing is we're not alone. I mean, we are here. We're here to help one another. One of the things that I love about the culture at this company, Call It Closed, is it's like a family. I mean, we're here for each other, you know. I mean, and there's no like I'm not getting anything out of this. You guys hopefully will get something out of this. I mean financially, like I'm not being paid for this. I enjoy the interaction, and the fact that you guys are here is, you know, it kind of bolsters me and gives me more confidence just from being together. But it's the same with, you know, Chad with his Tuesday night calls or his Thursday afternoon calls. He's doing it for us, you know. And it's nice to be able to pick up the phone and have that relationship or send somebody a text. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Well, guys, thank you we're about out of time. Thank you for joining. And if you have any questions or would like to follow up on any of the points from today, give me a call or text me, and we'll get together.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good
All
one.
right. Thanks,
You too.
David.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
All right.